Hello, my name is Robert Roach. I'm a third-year medical student at Mercer University School of Medicine in Savannah, Georgia. Thank you all for allowing me to present my research entitled Mapping Pediatric Firearm Trauma to Community Disparities. I have no financial disclosures. Pediatric firearm trauma has been steadily increasing since at least 2013, with more than 1,500 child fatalities annually. Overall, pediatric firearm trauma has been linked to multiple socioeconomic variables, including insurance status, poverty, race, and low educational attainment. However, developing policies aimed at curbing firearm trauma amongst children is challenging because the intent of trauma often is not accounted for. Specifically, risk factors for violent versus non-violent pediatric firearm trauma are often grouped together, yet we know from research on adult patients that the causes of firearm trauma vary greatly by intent. Therefore, the purpose of this study was to identify socioeconomic profiles associated with unintentional firearm trauma and assaultive firearm trauma amongst children. Our study was a retrospective review of our Level 1 Trauma Center registry for patients under or equal to 17 years of age. Intent and zip codes of injury were also collected. We then obtained zip code-specific socioeconomic and food insecurity data from the CDC's Social Vulnerability Index and USDA Food Access Research Atlas. Each variable was assessed for association with injury intent and on a one-way analysis. Any significant variable was then entered into a mixed model regression and spatial and isotropic power structure to predict unintentional firearm trauma and assaultive firearm trauma. There were 64 participants in our cohort. 45.3% or 29 were unintentional firearm trauma, and 54.7 or 35 were assaultive firearm trauma. On geospatial analysis, we found that food insecurity, no vehicle access, and single-parent households were significantly associated with zip codes that had decreased rates of unintentional firearm trauma. Areas of more poverty and unemployment, however, were significantly associated with zip codes that had increased rates of unintentional firearm trauma. Food insecurity, no multi-unit housing, and unemployment were significantly associated with zip codes that had increased rates of assaultive firearm trauma. Increased rates of minority populations geospatially correlated with decreased rates of assaultive firearm trauma. Overall, while housing, food, and transportation issues were linked to either assaultive firearm trauma or unintentional firearm trauma, increasing levels of unemployment geospatially correlated with both types of firearm injury in children. Therefore, policies creating job opportunities may have the greatest impact on reducing pediatric firearm trauma. These are my references.